everybody. Let's get started. My name is Alexandria Moss. This is Jesse Kushner. And we are thrilled to welcome you to the 20th Dr. Lewis B. O'Donnell Media Summit. I represent the student community as the Media Summit's event director. Next to me is this year's outstanding assistant director, Jesse Kushner. We also have all of our excellent panelists, career connectors, and moderators. Fun fact, actually, they are all SUNY Oswego alumni. I would like to thank them for taking the time to be here today, as well as all the faculty, students, staff, and team who helped put this wonderful event together. It could not have been accomplished without all of their hard work. This year's theme, which explores technology evolution and the future of television production and distribution, is not just a topic, but a journey we will all embark on today. This year's topic is of high interest to everyone in the audience who wants to pursue their careers in any aspect of visual storytelling.
Hello, everyone. I also want to thank WTOP 10 and BRC 445 for streaming today's show. Now, a little bit of housekeeping. I would like everyone to look at the doors behind you, in front of you, to your left, or to your right, depending on where you're sitting. In an emergency, please exit the doors calmly and orderly, and be respectful when leaving the theater for any personal matters. In addition, if you need to record your attendance, numerous signs with a QR code will be in the lobby at the end of the program.
Before we begin, I would like to leave you all with some advice. Get involved and make the most of this experience, starting immediately after the panel with our Career Connector event in the Tyler Art Gallery. Your active participation is not just crucial, but is the heart and soul of this event. The panelists and career connectors have a plethora of knowledge they would like and are waiting to share with all of you. They may very well help open the door for many of your future careers. Ask questions and keep your mind open in the pursuit of knowledge. Thank you. At this time, I would like to hand it over to the founder
event on a regular basis, and I get a lot of credit for founding this summit, but today I want to point out one person who is instrumental in making it a reality, and I hope she's in the audience. Mary, are you here? Mary Canale? Mary Canale, you know who. Stand up. Stand up, please. So without Mary's support, and if you know Mary, her tireless energy, I have no doubt that we would have not made it to 20. In fact, there was times when we didn't think we'd make it to 3. But I wanted to pay special tribute to Mary. As most of you know, she is retiring at the end of this year, and she's never been one for the spotlight, so I just decided to make her totally uncomfortable, and I appreciate that. So, I get the privilege of introducing our new president. There's a few things that you should know because he and I are somewhat related. You might say, what's that about? Well, first of all, his degree and my degree are the same. He has a degree in communication studies. Also, he's done tours of duty in Nashville, Fullerton, Atlanta, and the Bronx. I've been to all those places. And his PhD from Howard, I was actually at a concert at Howard once. But here's where we differ. He's an American Council on Education Fellow. He's a Fulbright Scholar. Nobody will ever mistake me as a Fulbright Scholar. He's had over 100 writings and has published 3 books. I've read 3 books. But here's what's most important. His Vision 4040 is groundbreaking, and it's innovative and frankly gutsy for a new guy coming in for an institution that has the history we have. He recognizes the value of honoring the past, but knowing that for us to thrive in the future, it needs a new vision, new thinking, new blood. And so with all of those credentials that he has, it is my honor to introduce our president, Dr. Peter O. Wosu.
Let's give another warm applause to Lou. And good afternoon, everyone. It is indeed a great pleasure to welcome you to the 20th anniversary of the Dr. Louis B. O'Donnell Media Summit. And whether you are here in person or whether you have joined us via live stream, I want to thank you on behalf of this university for being a part of this special occasion. As we mark 2 decades of this summit, I want to first extend my deepest gratitude to the students, to our faculty, to our staff, and to supporters in the Department of Communication Studies. Your dedication, your passion have made this event a continued success. And to all of you in the audience, I want to say thank you. Thank you for your participation and for your engagement. Without them, we will not be here either. And a special acknowledgement goes to the visionary who made all of this possible. Lou Borelli Jr., you saw him, a 1977 graduate of our university and an innovator in the cable television industry. A person who continues to give back to this university even after leaving the institution. But Lou's desire to honor his former professor, the late Dr. O'Donnell, led to the creation of this important summit. And we are so deeply grateful to one another, to all of his students, the legendary Al Roker, class of 1976, who is also a great alumnus of this university, a great friend of our university, whose ongoing support has helped sustain this remarkable event over the last 2 decades. Thank you, Lou. Thank you, Al, and everyone who has played a part in this enduring legacy. And I want to pause for a moment and join Lou in extending my deepest appreciation to a person that you already know, Mary Canalia, Vice President for University Advancement, who has also been key to this event. Let's give her a warm round of applause. Throughout the 20 years of this event, the Media Summit has been a forum for thought-provoking conversations with industry leaders, exploring the most pressing challenges of our time as it relates to the media. This year is no different, and we're excited to present a panel of distinguished professionals to discuss today's timely theme, technology evolution and the future of television production and distribution. The convergence of technology and media has completely transformed the television industry. And just under 2 years ago, we witnessed a pivotal moment when production workers and the Writers Guild of America reached a new contract with major television content producers. The negotiation addressed several critical issues surrounding new technologies, including artificial intelligence and robotic mobile cameras. At the same time, the continued rise of streaming media is reshaping how we engage with content, raising important questions for us about the future of the industry, questions about not only how to sustain creativity and innovation, but also how to ensure fair conditions in the workplace. Yet along these challenges, there are exciting new opportunities. Emerging technologies are pushing the boundaries of storytelling, opening up new frontiers for content creators and media professionals. And today's discussion will dive deep into these developments and explore how these advancements, indeed important advancements, impact everything we do, from scripting and shooting to post-production and distribution. Distribution not only in the United States, but distribution globally. And for the students here today, this conversation will provide necessary insight into the future for your chosen careers and the evolving landscape you'll all be navigating. And we at this institution, at SUNY Oswego, have leaned into that evolving landscape. And next fall, I'm proud to announce that we will officially reopen Hewitt Hall, which has been transformed into an extraordinary state-of-the-art media, communication, and arts hub with animation labs, podcast facilities, new broadcasting studios, and many more. It is a facility that we have invested $80 million in with help from the SUNY Construction Fund, and it will be a space that seamlessly blends creativity with technology. I was expecting a round of applause for that announcement. And if you haven't had a chance to go see that facility, I encourage you to just walk through. I had a chance to visit this past summer, and it's a fascinating facility. And I think it is one that would place us, this institution, at the forefront of media education in our region and in the country. And so I can't wait for it to be open, and certainly it will be a place we can host next year's 21st Media Summit at this university. That facility also will help further our vision. Lou talked about the vision we have been working on since last year at the institution, a vision for a more educated region. A vision for a more educated region. And if you look at what this university did right before COVID, the decade before COVID, 20,000 graduates, 2,000 each year. And that vision we have launched, which is Vision 4040, is to double that 20,000 to 40,000 graduates by the year 2040. It is one that we believe will help serve the talent needs of our region in a place that is expected to grow by between 5 to 10% over the next 20 years. You have heard of Micron Technology investing $100 billion in our area to build a semiconductor fabrication plant. A plant the size of 40 football fields. A plant that is expected to hire 50,000 new workers in our region and will provide employment opportunities for many of you. There are many other industries that are coming our way. The Oswego Port Authority is one of them, an entity that was just $60 million 10 years ago. Today it is $500 million and expanding, and many more. And so these are exciting times for us in our university, in our region. And I share this with our students and our community so that you can also participate in that excitement and know that this region has a place for you. And I'll just end right here, and then I'll hand this over to Cameron in a few minutes. Our students graduate, and thanks to the quality of education they receive here from our faculty members, and they get jobs. 99% placement rate, or they go to pursue graduate education. I can't think of any other institution or many institutions around the nation that can claim of that placement rate. 85, yes. 85% of them work in New York State, 35% in central New York. Yes. And so we're very excited to be here. You are all part of this experience of this institution. And I'm so delighted today to welcome each of you to this event and to welcome back our moderator, Cameron E. Jones. Yes, yes. And check this out, a 3-time Emmy Award-winning producer for ABC News. And a proud member of the class of 2009 SUNY Oswego. Can I get another one? And Cameron, it's wonderful to have you back on campus, and welcome home. And of course, to our esteemed panelists and career connectors, thank you. Thank you for taking the time out of your very busy schedules to share your expertise and experience with our students. And your presence today is truly appreciated. To the future media professionals in this room, we are so glad you are here to kick off this exciting journey into the next 20 years of media innovation. The future is yours to shape. Cameron, the floor is yours. And welcome back home.
Thank you, thank you. Wow, the lights just got brighter. Do you feel that? Thank you. It's so exciting to be back. I wish I could see more faces, but I know that you're out there. I want to just start by setting the tone for you all today, especially all the students that are here. I was a student, just like you all, sitting in the audience for the very first Media Summit. I know it doesn't look like it, because I'm still very young. But at the end of the day, I was just a student in the audience, just like you. I had no connection to Lou. I didn't know him at all. I just sat in the audience trying to absorb and soak up as much information and knowledge as I could, because it's the first thing. We didn't even know, to Lou's point earlier, that this would have been a second, third year. And so it's just been so exciting for me to have been here for that first one and to even be here for this one, as well as the 10th anniversary, and so on. And so it's such a privilege to be here, and I want you all to know that this isn't a dress rehearsal. The work that you're doing every day in class, the commitments to your academics and the commitment to building towards a career is happening now. I know there's all of the association to like the real world and what that actually means compared to what you're doing now, but you are in a real world, because what you're doing now is consequential to any and everything that is going to happen. In our earlier session, Danny, I know you're out there somewhere, she mentioned to students how important it is to really capitalize on everything that you're doing, because there is no wasted experience. So it might not be the great job that you want or the dream job in the moment, but it all adds up to that end. And I want to also acknowledge a very special person, and it's a treat that I actually get to do this with Rich Wolf, who I came to ABC because of him. There was a panel that was hosted by the Alumni Association at ABC. There we go. That they hosted, and I was just a student. I didn't know Rich, I didn't know anyone. I wasn't connected. My mom is not a senior producer. My dad is not a president of a network. I literally went to this event to connect and to learn about careers in television. And to my surprise, I met this man, Rich Wolf, who I said, I need to know more about him. And so I didn't know how to do that. I was maybe 20 years old, and he was a seasoned executive at ABC, and it was the one shot that I had to meet with him. And I think I said something like, can I just keep in touch with you? And he's like, sure. And I was like, oh, that was pretty easy. And from that moment until the time I actually started at ABC, he was a wealth of knowledge, consistently pouring in. And that is really a true testament to what our alumni provide. I mean, I bumped into Lou Borelli for the first time at like an alumni event, trying to figure out if I wanted a hamburger or a hot dog, and was able to strike up a conversation. And again, another great example of alumni in our network that pour into our students. So please do stay connected in that way. Go to events and be sure to connect with that. Get back to Rich in a second. But I really want to also acknowledge Lou Borelli for coming up with the idea to get this program off the ground. As somebody that was there for the first one, I had no idea that this would even manifest it to this and how I would be impacted by this as a benefactor. And I'm sure that my panelists here and our career connectors and thousands of alumni can attest to that have been a part of this, from all of the faculty, the staff, the alumni, everyone that puts this together every year. I just want to say thank you on behalf of everyone for this 20th anniversary of the Media Summit. So we could clap for that. Let's go. We could clap for that. Now we're going to begin, but these acknowledgments are important because this is the 20th anniversary, and I would be remiss if I didn't do this, Rich. When I started at ABC, he gave me an article. It was a New York Times article. It was from Bob Iger, about Bob Iger, and the headline said, "Bob Iger at 23 deemed unpromotable." And he had his review, and he was talking to his boss, and he said, "Oh, you're not going to make it, kid." And what was really interesting about me receiving that article was I was 25 when I started working at ABC. And I didn't know why he sent me the article. I was just like, what am I supposed to do with that? He's like, keep it in your back pocket. And so what it taught me was that at the moment, okay, the guy who is running this entire conglomerate was told by his boss at 23 that he was unpromotable. And in the article, Bob Iger said, at 23 years old, it sat with him. He felt like, oh my God, my career, how can I build a career? But the key is he didn't listen. He didn't buy into that. And so what you will face as students now thinking about the future, you hear all of the doom and gloom and the layoffs and all of that type of stuff. We're not going to buy into that. What we're going to focus on is the future. And the answers are not here on the stage. I know it's hard to believe that because we're professional and we're successful, but the answers are here in the room. You all, it's next to each other. It's behind you. It's in the back. It's in the front. So don't think about things that are so far-reaching. It's right where you are. And that's what I learned from that, and that's what I learned from Rich. I mean, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And so we'll begin. I know that sometimes these can feel like very stuffy and kind of like very,
We ain't here to be stuffy.
No, we're not. So I really want to give the summit back to you students so that you know that you're part of the future of what this will be. We all are getting through life just as you are, and so we need people to keep this going. So we hope that the conversation that you hear, the questions that will be asked will be prompts, not answers, prompts that will be catalysts for other innovation, other ideas that will come forward, because that's what we need in the world and no matter what industry that we're in. So to get us going, let's start a little light. Level 1, right? When you first started in Oswego, where did you live, Rich?
So I was a transfer student from Nassau Community College, and as Lou said earlier today, I guess I might have had in one of the sessions we were in, maybe I had just a little bit of a disadvantage because freshmen and sophomore students had a 2-year advantage than I had. So coming from Nassau Community College in 1974, yes, the dark ages, and you do notice how old I am because I'm the only male wearing socks up here. So you know right away, man, this is some old dude. So I lived in Oneida Hall, and had friends that lived in Onondaga. So my goal in life at that time was to get to Onondaga Hall.
I want to take a step back and give a formal introduction. Can you share your professional title and what you've done?
So I've had some good fortune. I've had some great fortune. So I'll give you a little bit of a glimpse. I might have said this before. So I graduated in 1976. I wasn't real sure what I wanted to do, which is no big surprise because I think most 22-year kids aren't completely convinced what they're going to do. But I went back to Long Island and went on the Indeed of its day, which was the New York Times employment section. It was a paper publication. I saw a position at a company called Hughes Television Network. Wasn't real sure what that meant, but it had television in its name. Had to be pretty cool. So I landed a job at Hughes Television Network as a billing clerk coordinator. How freaking boring does that sound? But the gift was I was auditing telephone bills for the communications services department that ordered telephone communications at sports remotes. And my job was to make sure that the telephone company wasn't significantly overcharging for their services, because we all know they overcharge. But what that gave me a glimpse into was the communication services area, and I started to learn about the movement of video and audio transmission. Hughes Television Network was a television sports production and transmission company. We had to take signals from the output of mobile units at stadiums, at baseball and football and basketball venues, back to the broadcast center so that the feeds could actually get to the broadcast station and the signals could be aired over their broadcast channels. So I began to learn a little bit about how to move video, audio around. RCA, American Communications, was a satellite carrier back in the day. Hughes Television Network obtained an agreement to buy satellite time from RCA Americom. Now I begin to learn what satellite communications is all about. RCA, about 14 months after that, asked if I wanted to work in their booking department, scheduling video feeds for clients that included ABC, NBC, CBS. See how luck and happenstance can work sometimes? ABC needed somebody to work in their traffic department, and in 1980, at near 26 years old, I get this job at the ABC television network, and I say to myself, game over, I've made it. The point is, none of that would have happened had I not accepted this lousy billing coordinator position at Hughes Television Network. The key is get your foot in the door and navigate as best you can. Find advocates that are going to advocate for you, do the job that is necessary, and master the simple things. The simple things are get to work on time, don't run out the door at 5 o'clock, and when your boss says, I need something done at 5 p.m. tomorrow, get it to him or her at 5 p.m. tomorrow. Master the simple things, and the journey will unfold.
Thank you so much, Rich. And I want to open it up for introductions for you, and tell us where you lived on campus.
I'm Jake Piacenti. I'm a technical director at CBS Sports HQ. Currently, I also did a bunch of other things. I was a replay operator for the New York Islanders. I've done graphics freelance. I've directed soccer for Serie A, Golazo Network also. I was only here for 2 years. I was a transfer student also. I came from Suffolk County Community College, so right down the road. Yeah, we can debate that. I was a Waterbury boy, so I was there for my first year. Yeah, you can applaud that. Waterbury, come on. And then I moved off campus to Lakeside Commons for my senior year, which was fantastic.
Hi, everyone. This is Lon. Hi, my name is Amada. I am a writer-producer at A+E Networks. We own and operate the brands History Channel, Lifetime, and A&E. And I'm also I was a transfer student. I went to Bronx Community College. I came up here, and I actually lived off campus because I looked at the prices for a dorm, and it was like New York City prices to share a bedroom, and I said, no. And I was also paying for school myself, so it just made sense. So I lived right across the hospital. Yeah. So what do I do for work? That was one of the questions, right? So I've worked in development, like creating and pitching TV shows, and I sold one that was cool, realized I didn't want to do that. I'm now in creative marketing, which I love, so writing and producing trailers and promos. Yeah.
Yes, wonderful. And thank you to our president for the introduction. I work at ABC News. I'm a producer with ABC News Live, so I work hours that are unbelievable. It sounds that way, but I actually love it. I start work at 4 to 12. I'm a morning producer, so I'm in first one in, first one out, and covering all news that can be happening during the day. So the promo is wherever the story will take you there, and I can start my morning in Paris, to Ukraine, you name it. And so it keeps me on my toes. Very impactful work. Having worked at ABC, I've been able to see so many various segments of the business, so I am thankful for that in this growing environment where we talk about evolution of television production and what that looks like. I'm curious to know, is there a piece of technology currently that you cannot live without?
Oh, the phone. Can't live without my phone.
Okay. So what would happen if you didn't have your phone?
I would have no communication to pretty much anyone that I'm working with and outside of work also. But through my phone, I can check my emails and I can do everything that I have to do outside of the office, which is not exactly what I want to be doing when I'm not in the office, but it is something that I nowadays, I need to have it on me to be in communication with my bosses and things like that.
Love it.
I feel like this is a trick question. I want to say something smart like a satellite because you need satellites to connect and whatever. I think it's phone. Yeah, it's phone. It's our methods of communication, internet. It's all in one place. So yeah.
I'm going to take a step further than that. I can't live without my iRobot that vacuums my floor.
They suck.
Mine is better than yours, apparently.
So what's cool about this phone is they would call it pretty thin. There's not a great deal of intelligence or hardware in this phone.
But they call it a smartphone, Rich.
It's smart, but where does it really get its smarts from? It gets its smarts from the cloud. That's where all the intelligence and hardware and sophistication lives. And because of the power of the simplicity of this device, you're allowed to have access to content anywhere, anytime. You may have to pay for it. That might be part of our discussion. But the power of this thin client is that it allows us to have access to anything we want because the real heavy iron software, hardware systems reside in the cloud, and we could talk a little bit about what the cloud is.
Definitely. We're going to get to that. Behind us, as you can see, we have a lot of technology, some things that I don't think I've seen before. This, I don't know what that is. I know what that is. I know what that is. Rich, do you know?
You know, slide projector, film chain, back in the day, before videotape was even invented.
So, Rich, you're on the panel, and you have the great privilege of seeing so much of that evolution from where we began, from how we would upload content, how we would distribute content. What in all of that stands out to be the most innovative?
So in 1980, the ABC television network and the other broadcast TV networks were distributed to their 220 plus broadcast affiliates by something called landlines. AT&T at the time was the dominant carrier that provided video audio transmission. And that's the way it started in the late 1940s, early 1950s until the 1980s, when the networks, quite frankly, followed the cable program distribution model to use the satellite. So to me, a pivotal technology was the advent of satellite communications here domestically, because it allowed in a very simple yet elegant and frankly very cost-control way to distribute content from one point to many points. And in the 1980s, ABC and the other networks converted their distribution systems from this AT&T predominant landline system, a series of microwave signals and cable signals, to the satellite. And then we converted our network from an analog satellite distribution system to a digital satellite distribution system. And then we converted the network from a digital television distribution system to a high-definition television distribution system. What was very simplistic was it was basically a one-way communications network. It fed signals one way from a hub, a broadcast hub, typically at New York, ABC New York, to the satellite for distribution. The key difference of today's technology, governed by IP Internet Protocol, is it's two-way interactivity. So what that gives programmers is data, feedback. They now have knowledge not just of what they send, but how that information is consumed, and it comes back to them in the form of data, and that begins to be some of the magic that maybe we'll talk about how we can monetize some of that incredible data to make a better consumer experience for everybody that watches.
Absolutely. I love that understanding of the technical parts of it, because we often see that end product and it's flashy and it's colorful, and it's like, well, how did we get that? I often find that one of the most disruptive things for me in terms of work has been apps like Twitter, now X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, because it's constantly finding where the audience is and what's trending and where people are. How has technology shown up in that way for you all respectively in your roles?
I don't think it has so much to do with what my current role is, but the algorithm aspect of social media nowadays is something that I think everyone is looking into, and how we can move our content into everyone's algorithms, because that has to do with money. Once we get all the advertising into the right hands, I think that's where like this whole AI discussion is going to come into play. But with the apps, it's harder to navigate what kind of content we're supposed to be putting on each platform, because I think they all have different audiences. So like while a lot of people might use X, a lot of people might be also on Twitter, and there's different groups of people on each platform. So I think a thing that, at least in the sports world, what we're trying to do is what kind of content should belong on each platform. So that's something that we'll shoot a very professional looking segment on set, and then we'll also have someone just run out there with an iPhone and shoot something for TikTok. So it's trying to navigate what kind of content we should be creating. So I think that's something that definitely more recently, as like the last like 2 years or so, where I think a lot of people are taking a step back, like what is working, what's trending, and what are people getting on their algorithms that we should probably be pushing more content, because we can put up highlights and we can do all that stuff in the sports world, but is that really what people are viewing or even care about seeing on these platforms? Because what it all comes down to is money at the end of the day. So the more views, the more advertising. So I think that's an interesting thing, the whole new platform idea.
I think I want to answer this differently. Instead of talking about social media production, I want to talk about how I use social media for inspiration in the work that I do. And in the pandemic, when TikTok was booming and everyone was coming out with these really cool videos, I was like, I want to be out of a job. These kids can edit the heck out of a video. Like, why am I needed? First of all, that's called scarcity mindset. Do not have that, especially when you're going into the workplace right now. We're not going to lie to you right now. The industry is very tumultuous. It's 100% true. But there's opportunities and everywhere, so be optimistic. So social media, yeah, I am chronically online, and it helps because everyone's online. So if I am creating work that's going to reach and hopefully, impact a lot of people, I need to see what's trending. And again, it's also inspiration. So when I see a cool edit, I show it to my editor. I'm like, can we try this? So that's how I like to use social media, but I definitely have to give myself a timeout from time to time, because it's so easy to scroll, especially like in a Zoom meeting, and that's no bueno. So yeah, balance it out.
These things, these apps may have impacted your business more than anybody's. User-generated content now makes anybody a reporter, anybody a journalist. So what your company has to do is figure out what all that gook is. Is any of that gook good? And is it something that's unique enough where I may want to incorporate it into some of my broadcasts? So user-generated content is a powerful tool, but requires a whole infrastructure to verify, to make sure the quality is right, to make sure the judgment is right. So there are opportunities in user-generated content because there needs to be a qualifying factor in it.
Absolutely. I think that is so true. To dovetail both of those points, 62% of consumers prefer to engage with brands through video content, showcasing the importance of video in marketing and communication strategies. So we're seeing this trend of video production, and not by major studios, not by networks, but by independent content creators. We see that changing the landscape in news, as Rich had alluded to. We see how it's affected scripted, but how is that looking in the sports world? Because sports still seems to dominate, and it's like the one industry that's still being able to pull sizable numbers on a broadcast. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I think, well, for broadcast sake, if you're watching just like a generic game, just viewing a game, you're always still going to be going to the networks because those are the people that are showing it. The aftermath of post-game, pre-game shows, they want nowadays, I feel, more entertainment, and we're seeing that in like more of ESPN type college coverage. And I think the professional aspect of it is slowly becoming out of the works with that pre-game, post-game coverage. In-game stuff, still, that's going to be whoever owns the rights to said game. But the flip side of that, individual content creators, if you're entertaining and you're talking about sports to people that like to watch and enjoy sports, those are going to be the people that are going to go to after the game to get reaction from. And that's really hard now for these bigger network companies. Like, how do we compete with someone who doesn't really have any rules, regulation to kind of put out anything they want? How do we get our viewers back to us at the big corporate network? Because when you think big corporate network, you think stuffy, suits, stats, which is all good and well. Socks, yeah, socks. But I think now we're going into an era of entertainment, and it's so easy nowadays, since everyone has a camera on their phone, you can live stream from literally anywhere. And I'm sure we're going to talk about that at some point too. How do you compete with that? And I think that's where we're at a standstill. Is like, I think we're trying to figure that out. But it's so easy nowadays for everyone individually to just go on and stream and get followers, because I feel like being famous and celebrity is not really that much of a thing anymore. Everyone's got followers. Everyone's got an outreach. So that is something that is going to be continuing. I don't know where we're at right now. It's the thing that's still kind of evolving and changing.
That's a fair assessment. I know that Rich indicated like the news environment and journalism and linear television has been greatly impacted by a lot of the transitions and evolution of a lot of these technologies, but we've also seen how that has impacted the fiction space, scripted television, development of new shows, development of new content, and we had the writers and actors strike that happened for the last 6 months, a couple months back, and how that has really had an impact on the industry. So there are students out here that are looking to go into those spaces and maybe be producers and filmmakers and content creators. What is the message to them?
Good luck. No. What? The message is, I would say, and you know, when thinking about technology, I was like, why would they invite me here? I just opened up my laptop. But one thing about technology, Zoom's been around, right? Like before, like for years. But what the pandemic did, and what we're now seeing, is you can meet up with anyone. And in the past, that would, you would have to make an appointment and meet up in person. But now you can set up a coffee chat with a VP and ask them questions. And that's what I did when the pandemic hit, and I realized I had to be at home and I felt disconnected with my company. So I just started hitting people up, and I made conversations, and I found out, oh, what projects are you working on? And that's how, for example, my job isn't technically, I don't have to do lifetime work, but I want to. I want to create as much as possible. And so I just spoke to the creative director, and she was like, hey, if you want to join this campaign, this movie campaign, let's do it. And now I'm doing that. So I really, really urge you all to connect with people. I'm not even going to say network because I know that's like a scary word. But I want you all to connect and reach out, because this is the entertainment industry, the media industry. It's a people industry. It's one of the few industries where you don't see people working by themselves. You're working with people, whether they're creatives or tech, or you're constantly working with people. So do your best to connect, and that will open doors. My first couple jobs were because people were referring me. So that's my advice.
I think an optimistic message about the so-called turmoil that exists is business cycles. I've lived through, because I wear socks, many different business cycles in the 40-plus years that I've so-called been in the industry. Sometimes the focus is cost control. Sometimes the focus is innovation and investment. Frankly, today, It seems like we are in that cycle of slightly focusing on cost control and maybe downsizing because there are cost benefits in that. But I also believe, the optimist that I am, is that this too is a business cycle, and it's only a matter of time where we have to reinvest in these great media businesses because they must do that investment. And that cycle of business and change is going to create some new opportunities.
Well, to go off of that, I feel like a lot of the things that are pulling in money now are not the big glamorous networks that we're working at, CBS, ABC, what have you. That sounds good, and it's good for us right now, but is that what's going to be making the most money 10 years from now, 5 years from now even? All these podcasts, video podcasts, they're pulling in ad revenue like nothing. So, and that's because they know online content is the thing that everyone's watching. So while it sounds good to you guys that we're all working at these big places, they might not even be the big places in a couple of years. So we might have to rethink what we're even doing right now. And that's why I think all you guys should be thinking about and I think that's why we're all here, what is up and coming in the industry. And I think it is internet-based content. And I work on the digital side of CBS, so I think I'm safe for a little while. But I think it's going to slowly work out of these big control room studio environments and into these smaller closet space studios where you can pull the same numbers, same ad revenue, and do it with less people, but it's going to be different people. And I think that's where this conversation is going to twist a little bit. Like my role as a technical director, that whoever's doing broadcast right now, I push buttons. Also, in my job, I'm the A1. I do the audio, I do the robotic cameras, and I direct. So I'm doing
Give them
4
more
different things.
of a picture of a day in the life of a technical director.
Yeah. So my current, where I'm at now, and this is going to vary place to place now, because we're adapting to these new types of technologies and new workflows. If you were to go to really big, like CBS Sports, NFL type production, the technical director is going to be just solely responsible for vision mixing, cameras, replay, and responsible for routing certain video sources. My current role in where I'm at in my studio position, I technical direct, so I push all the buttons. I video route, I do all the audio, I do all the robotic cameras, and then I'm also responsible for directing the rest of the crew, which would be graphics and video playback. So I'm doing 4 different positions in my one job, which is where learning all these different skill sets that you guys have the opportunity to do now in classes, take advantage of it, because just because you might be doing one thing one day doesn't mean you won't be doing something else the next day. So I think that's where this business is starting to change. It's becoming more one-man band and more what can the technology do for me versus having 4 other people having to do it manually.
Women have the advantage because they could multitask much better than men. So we'll give you a little bit of a kudo on that one.
I think also from my view, I see so much disruption in the use of technology and platforms. And there's some people on TikTok that have millions of not only followers, but they get huge, huge views. Some get like 10 million views a week. You know, those were the glory days of like linear television where you knew you can guarantee an 8 o'clock half hour to pull in 20 million viewers. I remember back in the 1950s and 60s with I Love Lucy, there were like 50 million Americans coming together to watch that show. But now you think about where is that groundswell of attention? It's online, it's on the internet. And that's a good message for a lot of students to understand that that is where it seems like it's going, but it also is changing at the same time. And so as those things develop, what are some things that you all do to stay connected to that technology, to be a part of the evolution? Like, do you read?
I read a lot of reading. And I don't like reading, but I do a lot of reading. I do like to read things that I'm interested in, which is this technology and this growing field.
Specifically, where do you read? Like New York Times, where do you read?
I'm very not into the news outlets for what I specifically am looking for. I'm in the tech. I don't have one off the top of my head. I Google search, and I'm all on all these different tech sites. NAB has a lot of good articles when they have their events of what new technology is up and coming. And not even that it's being used right now, but it's what the idea is forthcoming. So IP, it's been in circulation, but now there's full studios, full control rooms, all IP based, all cloud based. So I'm reading up on all this different kind of technology of how I can stay relevant. The cloud stuff that we were talking about earlier is really becoming a thing. Cell connection is a big thing. So we're doing full remote productions. I'm in a control room in Connecticut while we have a full crew in Vegas doing a 4-camera shoot, full audio from 2 different states. So I'm reading, and YouTube is a huge thing. People love to put out free content for everybody, and it's all about these streaming and all this different kind of broadcasting, and all these people that do all this kind of streaming stuff, they're utilizing all of this new technology where I didn't think like, if they're doing streaming, probably not making that much money, probably the cheaper end of things. I see it pop up in control rooms all the time, like, you got a Stream Deck running this $100,000 switcher? Like, so just utilizing some of the basic streaming skill sets that just pop up randomly is going to help you.
So where do you see the opportunity with cloud?
So, you know, the cloud, if you define it, everybody probably has a different definition of it. Essentially, what the cloud is an off-premise data center. So today's world, in the old days, major corporations used to keep in-house their internal data center operations. And now what the cloud enables, if you will, is a way to offload or go off-site, so you don't have to necessarily make the heavy capital investment for data center type services, and the broadcast industry is migrating to data-oriented equipment. So now you can treat your expense a little bit differently rather than a capital expense, potentially more of an operating expense, to use the cloud to house your storage, to house some of your switching. You can certainly do live productions in that as well. So the cloud is really an evolutionary path, and what we're starting to see now is more of a hybrid environment, where some companies will do some of their business still on-prem. All the big dogs, the ABC News dogs, the CBS's, their broadcast centers, frankly, have hundreds of millions of dollars of technical equipment in their broadcast centers. They're not going to throw that away. They're going to continue to use it until there's a natural depreciation cycle where that equipment can be written off. So there's business factors on why the cloud will be used and while on-prem will be used. But we do see this trend where there will be individual solutions where sometimes I'll use public cloud, which are the Amazons of the world, the Microsoft Azures of the world, the Google Clouds of the world. Sometimes I'll do something that's on-prem, and sometimes I might do something on a private cloud, because you have to do things that, A, make financial sense, and most importantly, how you can control your quality. Because quality still matters, even though we think everybody only talks about cost.
Brilliant. Would you add anything to cloud?
With cloud and also IP, I think they're kind of both in that same realm. The thing that we just installed a brand new control room studio that's all S&P 2110, and that's just a type of connection that we're using in our new IP environment. So all audio, all video signals are all through IP. So it's requiring more young people like everyone here in this audience that knows and understands computer and IT for broadcast engineering, much rather than more old school SDI, cable, XLR type engineering. Because a lot of the people that I go to now that are at the engineers at these CVS places are younger people that understand computers, because that's a lot of what's being installed. A lot of the things we're doing now is software based rather than hardware based. I can probably switch most of our shows from home if I really had to. So it's getting into that realm of cloud-based things, sending up data, sending down data, and you're going to be able to do that from anywhere in the world. So it's becoming a much smaller environment in terms of personnel, because we're not sending full crews to different locations now. But if you really want to get a leg up on what's incoming in the technology and more of the engineering aspect, 2110, IP, all that stuff is what's being installed in these new control rooms.
Yeah, that's impressive. When I think about a lot of the technology, you talked about phones being yours. Forget what you mentioned.
Phone
Oh,
too,
the phone
yeah.
as well. Is that when the iPhone came out, I think it was circa 2007, 2008, and it literally was revolutionary, right? It kept music, it did video, it did all of these things. And when Facebook came out, it was like, Facebook, connect with your childhood friends, and it was just for college students. And then it's like everybody's grandma's on there too now. And so when Mark Zuckerberg was before Congress for a hearing about what is Facebook, is it a tech company? Is it a finance company? Is it a television company? Because it was producing content. When you think of Amazon and now Apple, Apple has television studios and they're producing content.
MLS soccer, all MLS soccer for Apple now.
And so how is that shaping opportunity and disruption? Or is it one and the same?
I think I think Amazon's the ones that did it right, where they knew and they got the seasoned professionals to go in and overtake what they're doing with football, for instance. You have to have an Amazon subscription for Thursday Night Football now. I think they're going about it in a way, we're going to take a chunk of this audience and this group of people. We're going to do it really well. And then they're going to eventually, I think, own more than what we think they're going to own. On the other side, I think Apple rushed into what they were doing and didn't go about it the right way. So they now have MLS soccer, which is good. The numbers are not. So I think it's good and it's a little disruptive. It depends on how each company is going to go about it. It's weird getting away from like CBS, ABC, but there's going to be these other companies like Amazon who had no business being in media until recently, coming out of nowhere and taking over this kind of business.
You know, as Lou said in a session earlier today, there's more content being consumed today than ever before. So that's opportunity. That means that ultimately we need to make sure that people that have this insatiable appetite for more content needs to be fed and needs to be served. So at the macro level, more content will ultimately need to be delivered. Some of these technologies, and Jake said it best, are tools to enhance the workflow, to enhance the production values, to enhance maybe even the distribution. So we shouldn't be intimidated that they're always going to be taking our jobs away. We should be thinking about how is it going to allow me to do my job better. And hopefully that's the place we're going to get to.
Yeah, totally. I definitely want to speak on disruption because we just had our annual company update. And there was this great slide showing how about 8 years ago, our competitors were like, Oxygen and these other networks, right? Now our competitors are Amazon. Walmart has now a production studio and is distributing. So the competitors are everywhere now, right? So that makes us want to really hone in on what we're good at, but also another key point that will take you very far in life, so listen up, is adaptability. You have to be flexible, okay? We're realizing now that, as a producer, I have to, work on true crime, but then maybe work on a sports sizzle or something like that. So I have to be flexible and adaptable, especially with what's currently going on with layoffs and whatnot, and as Jake mentioned, being a one-man band. So definitely keep learning, keep growing. I want to add to what Jake said about, reading. Shout out to Michael Rickey and his news writing class where he made us read everything and anything and quiz us, because that you really do need to keep up with what's going on in the industry. It doesn't end at college. You don't stop reading after college. That's not good. And sometimes, listen, if you don't want to follow publication, follow people on Twitter. I love following other producers and directors because they're always talking about what's going on in the industry.
I've reached out to a few and they've helped me out.
Yeah.
People that have been doing it for a long time. Like I had a question about something. Someone that I follow who has a lot of followers who was a director and still is a director. I just messaged them, asked them a question, and they answered. So.
Yeah, it's all about connection, y'all.
There are some amazing organizations that serve the industry to share information and to gather technology and production leaders. A couple that come to mind is the Sports Video Group. If you take a look at that SVG, Sports Video Group webpage, there is more content, there is more information about how these leaders are producing television than almost any other place you go. You can go on NAB websites. You can go on equipment supplier websites that give these unbelievable descriptions of their latest products and services. There are places to go to get information, but you got to be the one to take the initiative to get the info.
That was brilliant. I want to also jump in where you talked about versatility and adaptivity, is that what a lot of you all are learning here in the classroom is, you know, and this is going to sound opposite of what you're taught, right? Like, it's choose a major, focus on that major, graduate with that degree, take that career, get that job. But ultimately, that's just putting you on a path so that you have a starting, you need somewhere to start from. But that starting point is not the end point, it's just a starting point. But think of it as a path that has many paths in it, but it's like one path leading you to many paths. Because if I only took the advice of somebody that said, be good at one thing, I certainly wouldn't have worked on a broadcast, I certainly wouldn't have worked in streaming, I wouldn't have worked in operations, I wouldn't work in ad sales. I would have only worked in that one area and I would have been out of a job. So what you're hearing a lot of us say is that there's a lot of opportunity through this disruption that's happening with technology. And when you think about things like AI, you think about these things that are causing a lot of shifts really in the industry, we're not dancing on the tombstone of anything yet. We're just on the step of what is to come. And we all are figuring it out. That's why you're here and that's why we're here, because we can't do it alone. I believe we're going to open up for questions in a moment. Just wanted to see. Okay, looks like we are.
Hello? All right. I'm Kevin Davidson. My question is, you mentioned earlier about data collection and how it's a two-way street now and you can understand the people who are watching your shows or watching your content. So how does that affect what you then do with that?
So the key opportunity is personalized video information. The traditional networks went out one-way information. They got some feedback from an organization called Nielsen that seemed to indicate what people were viewing. I won't go too far into that. But what now we could do, because we get the data coming back, we can personalize explicitly for you, different from me. So if I'm a Buick buyer and you're a Jaguar buyer, an advertiser may need that data to make sure that they target deliver their next Jaguar ad to you while I get the Buick ad. So all of this kind of feedback allows for personalized video experience because now there's information on how the viewer wants to process what they're seeing and why they're seeing it. So that's tremendous opportunity to get all of this connected televisions, to get this data feedback so that people can analyze the data, package the information, and give a personalized experience that they're not getting in traditional ways.
I'm going to jump on that real quick and take it a weird step further. So with this technology now that the phones have where it can track your face, track your eyes, I know someone who worked at one of these companies where they literally can see where you're looking on your screen and which ads you're looking at. So if you're watching a video, they're looking at where your eyes were looking and then, okay, I know they were looking at this ad for this long at this amount of time. And they're taking that information and then they're giving it to said companies. And then they're like, all right, I want to place my ad at this part of the screen. And
advertisers are craving for engagement. And today they're not necessarily sure if they're getting that type of engagement. This type of data can guarantee that.
Thank you.
Great question.
Hi. So my name is Kayleen. I'm a senior public relations major with a focus on journalism and social movements. I heard all of you talking about Facebook, Amazon, Walmart, and all these big monopoly companies. So my question is, well, I do have like something to say, but I also have questions. So in over a span of 10 months, we've seen over 200,000 Palestinians being bombed by the Israeli occupation forces, and 75% of them being journalists, covering these stories. And we've seen what happens to these journalists that are being lynched for covering the realities of Israel's genocide towards the Palestinian people. I'm also a minor in gender and women's studies, and as a gender and women's studies student, I've been taught to think critically about the world I live in. The Al Jazeera is a global news network that provides a variety of content, including news, talk shows, and documentaries. It is one of the largest and most influential news networks. And last week, the Israeli occupation forces raided the Al Jazeera in the occupied West Bank. And I'm hearing all of you talk about Facebook and Instagram and Oxygen, Amazon and Walmart, and all companies perpetuating this genocide. And in fact, I'm taking a PR class now that shows that research proves Facebook have helped military coups launch genocides and helped organize the January 6th insurrection. So we all know that bourgeois media and news platforms lie and allow Israel to get away with the murder of Palestinian people. So why aren't news outlets covering how Israel is destructing every last school in Gaza, as there are no more universities left in Gaza? So let's think about that critically, instead of letting bourgeois media lie.
Thank you for your statement. What you see a lot in media, especially today, which is a good example of what we have, is that we alluded to it earlier. There's so much information. There's so much opinions. I remember Laura, in our alumni office, we were having a conversation about how Facebook went from a platform where you just connect with friends casually to this multi-universe of opinions and thoughts and consciousness. And a lot of what you see in terms of content that's out there is representative of how people are consuming media. And so does it all get told correctly? No. But is the aim for it to be told in the best way possible? Yes. And what that requires is every one of you that is out here to really hold people accountable to those obligations to telling the truth and to seek that truth. So a lot of times I think we yell out at the thing that we want to change when we are the change. So I want us to keep that in mind when we think about what's happening with a lot of people that are suffering, where there are places in the world where people don't have as many rights and people are not being seen for who they are and what they represent. So we all are a part of that collective that makes that happen. It's not a news network, it's not a company, a brand that makes that happen, it's each and every one of us. We vote with our money, we vote at the ballot box. That's our obligation as Americans to make sure that we do that. So if we're going to look out and hold people accountable, we also have to take that charge ourselves individually.
Great statement.
Hello. Yeah, so I heard you talk about the current market around the individual content creators that are there. Like you said, a lot of people have the opportunity now to gain followers online and display their own content that they want. So in the future, is this market also going to get cluttered? Like with every object there is, like with films, with production houses, even with consumer objects like cars or things like that. Earlier, in the beginning, people used to have only 2 or 3 options where they went to, and now they have thousands of options for everything. So coming to light again on the individual content creator thing, like in a few years, I think even that market will be cluttered and there will be a lot of people, and these people, they monetize their videos, they get sponsors, and they also earn through the viewers that they have. And after, in the future, if there are many people who do that, I think the market is going to be difficult for these guys as well. And what do you think it's going to look for individual producers who want to make independent films, who want to make independent content that to reach the viewers? What do you think that market will look like in the future?
I'm going to do a quick statement on that because I don't have a lot of experience in that aspect of it, but what I think it is already kind of cluttered right now. Every time I scroll on TikTok, it's someone who has 1 million followers, another 1 million followers, another 1 million followers. There's so many people that have a really big following. I think that is something that you should look at as something good and not something bad. Because if it's already cluttered, which I think it is, and these people are still making money, that means you as an independent filmmaker have that opportunity to get a lot of followers and then make a lot of money. I don't think it's right now. I don't think it's at the point where it's so cluttered that it's going to be an issue of making money. Because realistically, that's all this comes back to is making money. But I do agree that it is a cluttered space. But we're still viewing it regardless. And I think the way that social media is going about it, the scroll, just keep scrolling more. You're still seeing the content regardless of how much you're seeing it and how many different people you're seeing. So there's still going to be money made somewhere in there.
I just want to make sure I heard the question right. You were asking how does somebody who wants to do film and producing and directing, how do they find opportunity? Was
Like
that?
as an independent producer, yeah.
Yes, I think that's a brilliant question. Earlier in one of the sessions, there was a question about how does somebody do script writing and daytime television? How do they break into a market in a space that's ever changing and very competitive, and obviously the numbers are going down year over year, and it's moving towards streaming and other digital platforms. But I want us to just graduate a little from what's actually happening, and I want us to refocus our attention, right? And find the growth where you are. So as I said earlier in the class, I'll say it here, I think Lou shouted out the number. It was 6,600 students on campus. There are, I don't know, let's say 1,000 people in this room right now, not 6,600 people. And so all 1,000 of you are getting a download of information that the other 4,000 plus are not getting. So there's a value where you stand currently as you're asking the question. So where you have that passion, that desire, that dream, that goal, that ambition, go and get it. Because as I said in the class earlier, there is somebody who has that same thought, that same idea, that same goal, that same drive, and they are on a plane, they are on a train, a bus, walking to go do that thing as we speak. So don't just question the layoffs and the thing. It's like, just go out there and do that work, because the only way to know, as I learned from Rich, is the only way you know what you really, really want to do, and if it's really, really driving you, is if you do it every day. So somebody's like, I want to be a writer. Well, a writer is a writer if you write every day. You can't be a writer if you're not writing every day. Now, certainly an artist is an artist no matter what time you put out your work. That's what makes art art. But essentially, if you're in a craft and you want to work that craft, just do it. Nike has the slogan, but it's true in life. Just do that thing, regardless of whatever's out there, because that passion, that drive, and that heart, someone's going to see it, and they're going to say, we want to be a part of that.
You know, we were chatting in the green room before, we come from different backgrounds, different ages. The one thing we probably all have in common, we love the business we're in. We may not last long, or we may get canned. It doesn't matter, because we love what we do. That's why we're here.
Doesn't always feel like love, Rich.
That too. So to jump on Cameron's good guidance to you, if you love what you do, do it.
It is worth it. To just be clear, to say the love it doesn't always feel like love. It's just acknowledging all that comes with it, right? There's all of the good, there's the bad, but it's the sweet spot of what makes you do it.
We're also grateful for the opportunities that we had, and we're hoping that you guys will ultimately get the opportunity so you too can be grateful. Because the industry needs you. Make no doubt about it. The industry needs this next generation of youth to become the next generation leaders. So that's where the opportunity lies.
Hi, I just wanted to first thank you guys all for taking the time to be here. I know we all appreciate it, and what you've all shared so far is really great, so thank you for that. You mentioned earlier the importance of just foot in the door, that no experience is wasted. And I was wondering, how do you keep this goal in mind when navigating fields that are so uncertain and changing so fast? what if the big thing now is not the big thing then?
I don't think I heard the question clearly. Can you repeat it?
Yeah, how do you keep your goal in mind when navigating fields that are so uncertain and changing so fast?
I think each of us could answer that.
It's going to sound so corny, but I believe in myself. Even though that statement didn't sound like it. I believe in myself, and you have to, because you will be in, for example, toxic work environment, or you're going to get a job and realize, oh, I really do not want it. I want to pivot, right? At the end of the day, you only have you, and if you made it this far, just always remind yourself, what if I just continue? You are your own best advocate. You know what's best for you. So I think really leaning into that. I know it's easy for me to say that here on stage, and it looks like my life's together while you guys are figuring out, how do I make it in the world? But you will, because honestly, you only have you. So keep that in mind. Surround yourself with people who are going to champion you. Even your friends now, if you're telling them, hey, I want to stay late at WTOP and make a TV show, and they're like, that's lame. Well, maybe that's not supposed to be your friend. So yeah, I would say that.
I'm a big goal-oriented kind of person. I like to set myself really, really high, and then I'll accomplish a bunch of smaller things along the way. So the goal that I have for my career is that I want to work on a Super Bowl, at the Super Bowl. That's my goal. And I'm slowly working my way towards that. But the believing yourself thing is so big, and I said this earlier in the class that we were talking in earlier. One of the goals that I have every time I walk into a different room of people, I want to be the best person in that room, whether it's my knowledge, whether it's my skill set, whatever it might be. If there's a new piece of technology and that's what's going to take for me to be the best in that room, then I'm going to adapt and learn it. So that's always been my goal since I started here when I was doing TOP stuff. When I walked in that control room, I want to be the best one in that room. And I continue that today. So every time I go to a new place, I go to a new truck, I go to a new state, whatever it is, I want to be the best person in that room at that moment.
I'll oversimplify and just say, trust yourself. You'll know if it's right, and you'll know if it's not.
I will say a lot of what I hear people come up and they say, I do this, I want to do that, or I want to specialize in this. But what we all really specialize in are three things. Wellness within yourself, your mind, your body, your health. Your health is wealth. Without that, you can't do anything. And no matter what you're challenged with, no matter what your day is, what your zip code is, how much money you have, if you're trying to get to another level, all that's going to be there. But your mind is one mind, and that mind has to figure out what is the next best thing to do. So if the focus is on all these other things that are not going to help you move, it's wasting your time. So sometimes you just have to recalibrate your focus and get your wellness together to make those right decisions. The next thing is people. People is everybody's business, because without connection to people, we're not anything. Connection to people, building community, connecting with others, showing up for others, but more importantly, showing up for yourself. The third, and the most important one of it all, obviously third to those two, would be sales. We are all salespeople. It doesn't matter what business you're in. It doesn't matter what your specialization is, how technical your skills are. You are selling something to somebody, whether it's a service, whether it's your skill set, whether it's your intellect. There's something about you that you are conveying for somebody else to show up for and to receive. So those three things are very crucial to whatever it is that you could be seeking, and keeping that the focus helps to really arrive at a place. I want to end on a message, though, of a conversation that I've seen with Warren Buffett. And he said to a group of students, if he gave everyone a car, and that car was whatever car they wanted, would they take it? Everybody said, of course. All hands went up. And he said, if I told you that would be the only car you would ever have in your life, what's the difference? Now everybody's like, oh, I won't drive it every day, or it'll stay, no one else could ride in this car but me. And all of these concessions started to happen when they realized it would be the only car they would ever have. But the thing to keep in mind is that car is our bodies. It's each of us individually. So one body, one life is all we have. And we have an opportunity every day to wake up, to go out and seize what's ours. And so I want to say thank you to Lou Borelli for allowing us to have this platform and bringing us all together, Al Roker for joining in concert with you to keep this thing afloat, for all the faculty, the administrators, the alumni, to the students, our e-board that helps to put all of this stuff together, and the love and the commitment that you've poured into this program and will continue to pour into this program for students currently here and for all those to come. I want to say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay, everybody, I'm glad I brought my high heels today because if not, I will be. Well, we are going to wrap up, of course. Before we go, I want to remind the students that the QR code is outside so you can scan, and we have the QR in the screen so you can do your attendance. Of course, I want to one more time thank you, our amazing group of panelists and our moderator for being here today. Thank you so much. Another round of applause. And thanks to, of course, the Dean of CMA, Jennifer Knapp, for all the help, and the chair of our department, Michael Ricky, thank you so much. And again, this is a process that takes a huge amount of effort. It's like your own wedding. You go like this in 2 seconds after you put like years of work. But I think, I want to again thank the e-board, the students who put an amazing work. And last and not least, our career connectors. I want to remind you that right after here, you can go and meet with the career connectors and have that opportunity to do networking and learn from them right in the gallery in the main floor here in the lobby. Another successful media summit, and we will see you next year in the same channel and same network and same time. Thank you so much.